I was in Indy for 9 hours and I left my other lens there, so we're going to be up close and personal today. I wanted to read something that someone posted on Instagram. It was a quotation from a book, the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed, that I read once several years ago, and it's actually on a pile in my room for a video about memoirs that I wanted to make in January of this year, which is quite appropriate for what I want to talk about today. But this, it filtered through in my Instagram feed from someone I follow who's reposting it from someone they follow, and it's from the very, very end of Wild. What if I forgave myself? What if I forgave myself even though I'd done some things I shouldn't have? What if I was sorry, but if I could go back in time I wouldn't do anything different from what I'd done? What if yes was the right answer instead of no? What if all of those things I shouldn't have done were what got me here? What if I was never redeemed? What if I already was? Things have been really, really wild because I've been traveling through different cities. I have my Creates for Change project launching tomorrow over the coming days, and I am, a human being in the world, and the world is complicated and chaotic, and there was just a lot all at once. And it was another one of those times when I've built up all these expectations for myself. It wasn't from a sense of initially putting on a lot of pressure on myself. It was things I'm genuinely excited to do, opportunities that I felt like I couldn't really say no to because they're amazing. And also doing things like Vlogmas, which I love. It honestly is one of my favorite projects on this channel, because we had that ongoing conversation. So when I felt like I didn't have time to upload and I couldn't continue that conversation, I felt like I was letting down Mind of the Bargain, even though I know that you were so very kind and generous and thoughtful with your comments, and you want me to take care of myself as well. So there was all this sense of, I suppose, disappointment in myself, and also the ongoing turning inwards of just being cruel to yourself. And that's an ongoing thing, I think, for many of us, and certainly has been for me. But it was interesting because when this quotation popped up on my Instagram feed, it made me realise in reading it that I had been unkind to myself. In asking the question, what if I forgave myself, it made me realise that I felt like there was something to forgive, and many things to forgive. And it's so strange how a question can make you see the first part of a sentence that came before the question, if that makes sense. Like, in asking the question, you realise the situation and the context from which you've been working in, and that is whether or not you're asking the question, or someone's asking you the question, or someone's asking themselves the question, and you see yourself reflected in that mirror. And forgiveness, I think, is one of the things I've tried to become better at, whether it's towards myself or towards others, especially towards others though. It also made me think a lot about what forgiveness is. Is forgiveness apathy? Is it complacency? Is forgiveness letting someone get away with something? And also, what does it mean to not forgive something? What does it mean to say, actually, they did this thing that is unforgivable? I think part of that is seeing yourself, whether that's through the mirror or the strange little viewfinder on your camera, and seeing all the parts of yourself that have done all of the things that you don't like, or that you don't like right now, and still being able to love and forgive yourself, so that you can go out there in the world and be a person and extend that compassion to other people, and at least have a starting point of, we're all some degree of broken, so that can't be being whole can't be the requirement for being a person and for treating other people like people too. So then, what are our own guidelines? What are our deciding factors when it comes to the way we treat one another? What is it that we're looking for in other people? Are we looking for them to see outside of themselves? Because a lot of the time I think we're all caught up inside of ourselves and our inability to forgive ourselves, and the reckoning and wrestling we have with ourselves and the decisions we've made. I'm not sure where to land on this one. I don't think it's a conclusion I've come to. But I think forgiveness as a concept is so interesting and so generous and also fraught. It's hard. I think that there are things that are incredibly hard to forgive. And part of it is it feels like the onus is on the person who has been hurt. The onus is on the person who has genuinely suffered in some way, shape or form as a result of someone else's actions. But it's also sometimes on the person who's been doing the hurting to forgive themselves, even understanding that the other person will never be able to forgive them, or will never, at least outwardly, extend that forgiveness to them. I just have been caught in a thought of forgiveness, in a little net of it, and also in trying to find compassion for myself even when I feel like I'm falling short, and not only on unrealistic expectations, but to some degree also unrealistic ones, because you don't have to have packed your schedule to the brim or said yes to too many things to fall short. Like, there are times in all of our days when we fall short, and when we might have had enough sleep and still fall short, and we have everyone we love around us and we still fall short. So it's up to us to forgive ourselves and, I don't know, to be better, I think, but not in a scornful, dismissive way of the person who made those decisions in the past, with a generosity to that person too, and a kindness to that person too. So those are some thoughts from the floor of my hotel room in Seattle. I'm at PodCon. I will be here for this whole day, and I fly back to Indianapolis tomorrow. And as I said, my Creates for Change project should launch tomorrow and runs for 5 days up until the Project for Awesome. I really hope you like it. I feel extremely nervous. And then it's the Project for Awesome next weekend. So it's a wild week. It's a wild week. They're all wild weeks. We're all mad here.